chat room. Let me bring in our dear friend Tara Devlin, who is waiting in the wings, and I'll pop her in here. And
Yay.
give me a second. Yeah, I hear you.
I like
There's she.
getting popped in anywhere
That's right.
nowadays.
It's just nice to be wanted everywhere you go. We had a great conversation with David, and I appreciate where we're coming from. Let me bring you on screen so people know who I'm talking to. It's Tara Devlin. Tara Busters is
Hi.
joining us right now. Hi there. So
Hi. Yes, I
we,
was listening.
yes, no, it was good. We covered a lot of stuff, which is great. And you know me and my issue with the lesser of two evils argument that's been around for a
Yeah.
long time is that it has gotten us exactly where we are. And this you and I will address, I think, more the kind of current state of affairs, as opposed to sort of looking back. But this is an election year. This is a very
Hmm.
crucial election year, if I might add.
Yes.
And what hangs in the balance is those checks and balances on Donald Trump. That literally,
Right.
he will, Republicans will now pass anything he wants if they can do it with a simple majority and hand it to him to sign.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I was listening to the conversation. I was just wondering, did I mishear what he
Mm-hmm.
was saying, calling it the Democrat Party? Was I not
No, I
hearing
don't.
that
I don't think so. I don't
correctly?
think. I think he was. I think it was
It was
either a
just his
slip of the tongue or whatever.
accent,
It wasn't
maybe.
one of those. Yeah, right. It wasn't one of those. Yeah,
Oh,
situations.
because I
No.
was like,
Yeah.
that's always a tell, okay? And it drives me up a wall. But he was saying Democrat politicians, Democrat. It's
Democratic, right?
Democratic.
Because that's the essence
Yeah,
of the
it's
party. That's
Democratic.
exact. That's what and that's the
Yes.
part that I you know kind of regularly articulate. We deal with that in
Yeah.
that regard. But in the
And
process,
it
yeah, go ahead.
right, right. No, but I was just gonna say because it's because that's what they all use. That's their lingo on
Um,
right wing side. So it makes me
yeah.
wonder what kind of um, articles or media he's consuming
Well,
too
I
to
think it'd
call
be
it that.
clear to the district. It can be a habitual language. You see that in a lot of southern states
Yes,
where people
yes,
parrot that because they also, and I would
they
argue,
do.
in the
Yes,
same way that the Republicans try to make liberal a bad word, and then they've done the same thing with progressive, is that catches on for a time as a
yes,
pejorative, and then people shrug it off. You know what I mean? Like they
yeah,
move on from
yes,
that because you can even look at like people on the right referring to themselves now quote as classic liberals. Well, why are they doing that? Because MAGA is such a fucking embarrassment, and that they're
right.
trying to backtrack to I'm really for what the whole country was about, which is personal freedom and liberty and all that kind of stuff, and that's what a liberal
Yeah,
is. And we're like that's what we used to be for, and then you guys turned it into a pejorative, so progressive popped up because largely that was like Star Trek liberal. We're trying to get to the
yes,
point where we're at a zero um whatever like a zero labor society like Star Trek, and where currency
right.
is not necessary but for the most personal of things, which it would still
Right.
exist on, right? um so
Hmm.
so I think people adapt to that kind of languaging.
They do. I heard it actually. I was watching BBC and I heard them using Democrat
Yeah,
politician,
right.
Democrat party. And I was like, what the hell? And it just goes to show you how much it's really just infiltrated the from what
The
started
zeit
as a pejorative, as a deliberate pejorative from Lee Atwater
Yeah.
telling the Republicans back then, don't call it Democratic Party because that sounds too nice and everybody loves democracy, but emphasize the Democrat
Yeah,
Party.
right.
It's very, it's hard. It's rat.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just yeah, that's what they do. It's a tell.
Well,
Even Trump will say it on the State of the Union. This is how they talk. It's irritating. It's
yeah,
infantile.
I completely agree. I mean, capitalism, for example, is a pejorative exonym given to
Right.
market
You're right.
economies. It was not.
Yes.
It's not actually descriptive of how our economy works
Mm-hmm.
at all. It just
Yep.
isn't. It's
Right.
we and especially the American system, which would be a liberal market system, is the best way to look at our economic system here, which has a mixture
Mm-hmm.
of the state as an actor, the federal government as an actor, corporations as an actor, and individual consumers as an actor in it, and it all works together. That's why, like, macroeconomics is so complicated as a concept, and why you've had things like credit default swaps pop up is because the murkiness of how complicated it is has all these crevices, because it's not just black and white. People who have, and people who have not, and that's that, and it's a war against them, whatever. This was a descriptive created by Marx, by socialists, to describe the market system. And
the bourgeois, right?
Right. Yes, exactly. That they were like, how do we take the system and define it as us against them, and then work it as such, because we're never going to gain any ground because it works too well. It's how things naturally occur. And the problem is, and this is where I would call Sparksism, is that the natural order of things is a mixed economy. It is a combination of the state, everybody getting together and going, okay, there's some shit that's just too big for any individual to do. An interstate,
like healthcare.
Yeah,
right?
Well, right. And provide for the general welfare, which is why that's in the Constitution, which I would argue is the underpinning for all social safety nets. And by the way, a conservative could argue that providing for the general welfare does not mean putting everybody on the dole, everybody on the tit, and just saying everybody will be happy with their scrap of whatever we all take in collectively. That might be detrimental to us as a country over time, indeed, as it was to the Soviet Union, as it was to China, and continues to be in a bunch of other countries. So it's the mixture of it. And that's where I would argue that what a lot of people call socialism in our system is really just democratic taxation. We have decided that some things can only be handled by us pooling our funds together and arguing, agreeing, legislating, writing contracts to go, okay, yeah, it'll be done, and it'll be done in this way and with these standards because this is our ethical constitutional standard, right? That's the value of it. So that's democratic taxation, not socialism, that gives you fire departments, police departments, roads, all that kind of stuff. And that our system is permanently mixed. And no matter who tries to fuck with that, if communists try to make it wholly communist, it would collapse under its own weight. If free market economists wanted to make it without any tethers whatsoever, it would eat itself in a matter of days, like the crypto failures we've seen lately. It's a great example of the Wild West aspect of it. And so society requires democracy, ultimately. It requires everybody's buy-in.
Yep. That's true, but it's a natural state of I think humans are just like nature. They're not hierarchical. They're democratic. As you could see the flocks of birds, I mean, Tom Hartman talks about it all the time, how they're voting on which way they go. It's not like the one in the front turns and goes in a certain direction. And I'm sure you've seen that video. There's a video of ducks who reject the snow or something. They come out, but they all come out. They're like quack, 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 quack. And then they all one by one start turning around. And then they're like, all right, we're going back in. Right. We're not, we vote to not go into the snow. So, but human beings are interdependent. We're interconnected.
Right.
We need each other. That's why we form governments, and all this, the billionaires to me and, are just a symptom of the broken system. And then when we have gig workers, like you're talking about capitalism, gig workers calling themselves capitalists, things like that. They're not capitalists, they're
you're a participant in the market economy. And by the way, neither are Elon Musk isn't a capitalist either. If Tesla sales drop off and nobody wants an Optimus robot, and the federal government cancels his contracts, because he has both.
Right.
Literally X.
God, yep.
All of X is a mixed economy. It is kept largely in place by government contracts, and then it is secondarily supported by a buy-in from the public, either in stock buys or in the buying of a Tesla or something like that. So it's literally exactly that. He is not a capitalist. It's Sparksism writ large, and you can't separate the two. First of all, if Obama hadn't put in the funding for electric cars into the rescue package, none of us would know or give a shit about Elon Musk. He'd be a footnote. He'd be under Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance as a relative nobody as far as the public, right? He would have made money on PayPal, but that would have kind of been that. Yep. Tesla would have been a failed hobby by another rich dude. But because the
Right.
federal government said we're going to support you with subsidies during this starting period because we think it has value, we collectively, we as the public, elected Barack Obama because one of the reasons
Right.
was to basically right the storm after the economic collapse, but also for his environmental policies and for his healthcare policies, as much as those things could possibly get through. And part of that was guaranteeing that electric cars got a foothold against the
Yep.
fossil fuel industry. And so without that, we're not even talking. There's no Twitter buy from Musk. There's no SpaceX. None of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Elon Musk is a grifter. That the fact that Obama bought into his grift, or he one of the early adopters of the grift. All he had to do was like, oh, we're going to Mars. We're gonna have Solar City, right? He's not a genius. He was born on third base. He took his trust fund and he parlayed that into another grift called, what was it? Zip something, zip. In the early
Oh,
days of the internet,
yeah, pre
something
PayPal,
zip one.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, it was like, but it was a search engine, really.
yeah.
It was the yellow pages online. That's what he did. And
Mhm.
he built a a giant casing around a regular Windows computer, and he invited all these investors in during the internet boom. So
Yeah,
they all had FOMA. They were going to miss out on the next great thing. And it was like Zip 101 or somebody on the
yeah,
chat will remember.
right.
And they threw money at him
Yes,
for this yellow pages online, which was already happening, called Google.
yes.
And
Zip
he
2.
took Zip 2. Right, there you go. And it's that forgettable, but that's how he made his money. Then they found out when he got into that, when the billionaires or the millionaires at the time funded Zip 2, and they couldn't get rid of him fast enough, because the minute they started working with him, they saw, well, he's a scam artist. He doesn't really
Yeah.
know what the hell he's doing. He's not a coder. He's not a
Well,
genius.
the same thing
So
happened with Bill
they,
Gates. Bill
yeah,
Gates
yeah.
Bill
Oh
Gates
well.
bought QDOS for
Mm,
$50 from a dude in his dorm and sold it,
wow. Yeah.
effectively as DOS, as because QDOS was
Wow.
quick and dirty operating system. That's what QDOS stood for. So
Mm,
it still
mm,
stands
mm.
for dirty operating system right now, which is
Wow.
hilarious. But it was the original OS for
Right.
what would become Windows based, Microsoft based computers, right? The coding language for it. So okay, there are a couple of things. One is, as far as Obama falling for it, the solar company, he was basically sucking up these companies. The people who were actually running these companies, the guys who started Tesla, the actual founders and creators who were
Yes.
putting it in the Lotus and all that kind of stuff, were trying a different approach than every like smart car looking ugly version of things. They were trying to get a buy-in from, make it aspirational instead of like an
Right.
apology to the environment, which is how all environmental movements have died.
Yeah.
When
Yeah. Sure.
they is because they don't become aspirational. When they work, they become aspirational, either
Mm, mm.
socially or economically. But
Right.
when they aren't, when you're just apologizing to Mother Nature all the time, you look like a
That's
wuss,
so
and
true.
nobody
Yeah.
wants it. And that's what all the electric cars look like initially. They look the same thing with. That's why the Taurus was such an embarrassing new version of the sedan. We'll streamline the exact same gas car so we can shave off $1 of gasoline a month, and
Right.
because we're apologizing to Mother Nature by driving this kind of like thing that looks like a circus peanut or whatever, just like foam. So, but the guys who were involved in the company in Tesla, they were actually running it and actually developing it and looking to where they could actually,
Yes.
how they could create this. He was the salesperson, but they were the actual ones doing the work. And if you looked at Tesla as a company with this government funding, they absolutely
Mm.
had the ability to become everything they could possibly be, and not because of ideas in Elon Musk's head, but because of the
No.
designers themselves and everybody who was working on the team. And you could afford to bring in even better designers, buy some people over who were kicked away from GM and shit, which is what they did, and start, building that out. And it was the only way you were going to do it, because there were no electric car company dudes selling a brand new idea that weren't blazingly full
Yeah.
of shit, that weren't new car salesmen in their own way. It just is part and parcel to it. And the same thing is true of like commercial space travel. He might have cracked the egg on it, but like basically, if Boeing hadn't fallen behind, which was initially,
Mm.
if you want to talk about like who was bullshitting who. You could argue that X and Boeing have both been bullshitting NASA left and right, to the point where Bezos is more than likely going to sweep around the outside and deliver, more of the back and forth that you'll see on a commercial level than anything else. They're launching Leo this year, which is the Starlink competitor that Amazon is putting forward.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, right, exactly. And again, if you want to talk about lesser,
I hate Musk. I hate him.
Right.
I think he needs to be excised from our body politic
Right.
at every way. And he's like a cancer. They all are. All these billionaires. Well,
Right.
I mean, I just did a whole. I'm sure you saw.
Yeah.
What's his name? Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Did another talk where he was quoting Carl Schmitt. And just casually quoting Carl Schmitt, a Nazi, and not just a Nazi admirer, a Nazi, and who gave intellectual cover to the Nazis to destroy the Weimar Republic, and he's out there just quoting that. No, and there's has a whole audience of young people peppering him with questions like he is another genius. Like, we have to stop separate. We have to start separating the notion that billionaires are geniuses. They're not. I mean, some of them are, I'm sure,
right,
but not this crap. That,
no,
not at all.
Well, the irony, especially during the sort of AI revolution that we're in, is that in very short order, or in the last year, even the smart ones are dumber than their creation, and don't know how it actually works.
Wow.
Yeah, Sam Altman, right. All the guys who were actually involved in some of the early coding in AI specifically, the people at Anthropic who are, I think, kind of the best at as far as ethics in their company. That's why they're having a fight with the DOD right now, or the DOW, as it were, and why Pete Hegseth wants to kick them to the curb, because they have limitations on what you can use their AI for.
Oh shit. Wow.
Yeah. And so they're going to kick them out of other projects that don't involve killing people from space, because they won't allow them to use their system to kill people from space.
That's sick.
Yeah. So Anthropic, those guys, even as they are aware of the potential of what they have. By the way, Tara Devlin, Tara Busters, is it Tuesdays and Fridays, or what's your current show?
Well, yes, and Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays now.
Oh, nice.
So, yes, we got another show.
All right.
Another show.
See, it's the disease is spreading. Yeah, you're falling very quickly to what I go through.
Yes.
So,
well, you're still. I got a long way to go. I
it's a lot.
That's for sure.
So, I just want to remind everybody of your show and your schedule. But in the meantime, in the meantime, these guys are very. When you talk, there's like a tier of stupid right now. There are those that are aware of how ignorant they are, because we are dealing with something unprecedented. And in the case of, I think, Sam Altman and others, there's a sobering realization of the extraordinary nature of the time that we're in, and what impact AI will have on governance and productivity and information and all that stuff, and the dangers inherent in any kind of shift like that, and what adoption, bumps and ruffles will happen while it's occurring. And then there's Elon Musk, who is just repeating snippets of what those guys say that he's seen on YouTube videos, acting like they're his idea. And then that trickles down to all the Muscovites that are in the Republican Party who still think he's smart.
They do. It's so depressing, really. I was watching, what was it? Well, Piers Morgan, when he was interviewing Peter Thiel, he's like, I had a conversation with Elon Musk. I don't ever want to go up against that brain.
Oh my God.
Like, wow. Yeah. How much do you hate yourself? Like, how stupid
to think you're that dumb. Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, and it always brings me back to Black Widow in Endgame, when Ant-Man asks her, do you know, she's talking to him in Captain America, and he goes, did either of you know anything about quantum physics? And she goes, just enough to make conversation. And because she's a spy, that's the point. That's the underlying point of this, is that she can bullshit her way through anything, and because she's trying to get to a goal. steal your information, steal your
Yeah.
money, shut down your system,
That's
whatever it is.
them.
And this is exactly the same thing. He knows just enough about it.
Oh yeah.
He knows the line that most people know in their conversational ability about talking about it, and he knows to stay, like 2 words, whatever word hasn't entered the zeitgeist yet.
Yes, that's right.
Like sovereign AI, when that first came out and everybody was talking about sovereign AI, he was babbling about it about a week before it hit, and then it became the conversation point, not because he brought it up, but because the rest of the world is talking about it, and it's a necessity to deal with it.
It's so embarrassing to be the rest of the world, isn't it?
No,
to have to listen to them.
Okay,
like
so
venerate
real quick,
these people.
See, this is what happens, Tara, when you don't watch enough foreign television, and you don't watch enough like non-English language. Thanks to the translation ability of modern YouTube videos or whatever, it's incredible, because every country has these guys. Every country has these, like, these would-be potentates who want to run their country, and in a lot of ways, like, as much as we talk about how Musk had this inside line to Trump and he was basically puppeting him in the beginning of last year, Trump's ego and idiocy were these 2 trains headed towards each other, and he could not listen to Elon Musk without going, I don't understand any of this, and therefore I don't like talking to him. That was it. Yeah. Like, for all the other shit that they fell out about, it was really that Trump felt sort of embarrassed by the fact that he doesn't understand any of the concepts that Musk is throwing around, trying to appear smart. And no, he can't. He has to be the smartest guy in the room. So that's why they fell out. It wasn't because of anything ethical or any shit like that. And Trump is
not at all.
No, he's surrounded by Doge activists in every department right now who are basically Musk's spies. It worked in that regard.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, God help us all, really. Just everything that he did to the federal government too. It's such a assault on decency and democracy and humanity. I mean, I'm of the opinion, if a shining city on a hill, the greatest country on earth, should have a functioning bureaucracy that you should be able to call the Social Security Administration and they pick up on the first ring and get your problem solved, right?
Yes.
Like, that's what we should expect. If we had self-respect. A lot of this is because we've been beaten down, I think, and we've been so divided and beaten, and this, assault where it really is an assault on our psyche and our morality. I hope, and you do give me hope too, because you've said after this, when this era is over, we hope that the investment, that it will just open up such a boom in the other direction. So I hope so. I do hope so. I really do.
I got to tell you, in terms of AI and automation, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy that they're all aware of. One of the biggest reasons why there's a huge money grab going on is so that these guys can build bunkers in case everything goes to shit.
Right.
But they don't care if these giant, if AI figures out a way without any help from them to operate on less energy and doesn't need giant data centers to be as functional as most people would need it, that all this money will just get thrown down the toilet building these giant warehouses full of servers that will be effectively useless and draw way too much.
For what reason, though? I mean, you know a lot about this. No, definitely more than me, but I just saw Elon Musk recently. I mean, they don't give a shit if people lose their jobs, if economies are decimated. This is, to them, a natural state of affairs. Like, it will all shake out in the wash eventually, right?
Well,
with them at the top.
Well, but there is no top. There's the problem with this, that it is ultimately, AI at its root is a great equalizer. And the only thing that will matter at some point is availability of resources and agreement on what gets used. And the issue that they're up against is that they have no control over those primary resources, so, and nor will they at any point, because no countries, well, I would say no country. Some countries will certainly give over their resources to whatever billionaire rolls in there. But there are a bunch of countries like the United States that, unfortunately for them, have this this sort of like baseline of a populace that is like, no, you can't just have all my shit. You know, whether it's pry my gun from my cold dead hands, or or power to the people, whatever your kind of direction is in that, it's still going to be something that is difficult for them to sort of usurp these things. Also, at what point, when you reach a zero effort labor system, which is what they're aiming towards, what's your justification for the price on anything? So the economy will collapse not under the fact that nobody has a job anymore, but that nothing that's made with this level of automation is worth any more than the resources used to make it, the raw materials. Even the extraction of the raw materials will be done that way. And so it's not going to happen super fast. And but that is the declination of this historical arc that we're on. In the same way and we've been on it forever. We used to fucking go watch Conan. In the beginning of Conan, when how does he get strong? They kidnap him as a child, make him a child slave, and tie him to a wheel that's a stone grinder, and he just does it till he's 20.
He's all buff.
Yeah, right. He's the only survivor. Well, the rest of them all die. He's the one who just keeps pushing because he's so angry because they
break his body down.
Because Thulsa Doom cut his mom's head off. Yeah. You took my father's sword. You killed my people. That's the whole part. Right. So that's what drove him to keep pushing. Right. And it's a good story. Anyways, point is that's how shit used to be made. You'd either grab some people, force them to do it, lash some donkeys to something, make them do it, find some animal, feed it, and therefore you needed to get the food from somewhere, so you need some farmers to grow some shit so you could feed your horses that would pull the wagons, that kind of stuff. That was the way it went. It was high effort, low reward. Now, we have moved as a society continually, forever, even though people forget how kind of easy we've got it, and Republicans particularly forget because they sort of They clamor for this old West idea that they, as a homesteader, and I'll just take what I want, and me and my gun on the fucking plains. You're like, asshole, what happens when somebody poisons your well while you're asleep? Who are you going to shoot? Exactly. What the fuck are you going to do? Right. Eat your dog? That's what you're going to do. You're going to fucking eat your dog, like a lot of people did back then. It sucked. The past sucked. Everything up till a half hour ago was complete shit.
It's so true.
So
it's true.
And what these guys are, the industrial guys, the Ford and others who were creating these, assembly lines, these guys were not putting themselves out of a job. They had no interest in hammering steel and welding and screwing vehicles together and attaching hoses. They were creating a situation where other people worked for them who didn't have anything else to do because there was no industry at all before that existed. And if they wanted to, they could trade their time for some money, which was the money they got was worth more than the time they gave at the job. That's the labor argument for wage. That's what you're always arguing for. Is my time here worth more than what the money that I can get will give me? I can't carry you can't pay me in a sandwich because I can't carry a sandwich around and wait till I'm hungry and hope it doesn't spoil between now, when I'm hungry, or eat it now and then I got nothing else later and whatever. So money is a fiat for that time. You can use your labor instead of me giving you a trough of water to pick out of, or a pig trough to eat out of. You can go find your own trough. That's what fiat currencies were always about. It's what wampum was. It's what shells were when people used it. It's what shekels were. It was what gold doubloons were. It's a placeholder for whatever the fuck you want later that somebody else will honor. That's all it is. And so these guys weren't putting those billionaires, those equivalent, they were millionaires at the time, but it was the same difference distance-wise from what the average person made, because a cup of coffee was a fucking nickel. So that, you move that up the scale, a millionaire becomes a billionaire and a coffee costs $5. It's the same shit. But the availability of things has increased because of production, because we now have automation and we now have systems that make, it wasn't just like, holy shit, where are you going to get an espresso maker? Every Starbucks has 3.
Right.
Because somebody's making a bunch of them. So in those, that's where this art goes. And eventually, the people who are making money off the limited factor of having those things disappears. So there is no upside. Eventually, Star Trek happens, and the only reason somebody's a captain is because they've earned it. We set up tests you have to pass. We decide determines what people, like the Federation in Star Trek determines what makes people qualified, sets qualifications. Those qualifications are judged by the public. The public, elects the Federation people who judge who will become a captain. Right? That's how it works. Right? And that they have every tool available to them, but the hierarchy is based on merit and skill and worth and value to the greater community, and not on who can afford an education.
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing. I mean, that's a wonderful, beautiful picture being painted, right? I'd love to live in Star Trek, but we're not going to get there with pedos in the Epstein files, Elon Musk running the show, these evil bastards who position, I mean, to me, Elon Musk is he's a supervillain. We've seen in many Marvel movies. We should have been warned. We should have heed the warning that you don't want supervillain billionaires who have the power to destroy the world, that have more money than can gobble up the entire system itself. And that's what we're up against now. I mean, what's to stop him from putting a nuclear warhead on one of those damn rockets if he lost his mind, or he's already done it, but you know what I'm saying. But it comes down to, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of an economy? Are we all just hosts from which to suck profit and discard? This is a conversation that we have to have. That it's as Gandhi said, enough for everyone's need, not for everyone's greed. But we've allowed these few billionaires.
I agree,
but I mean, they're evil. These are people that are tweeting anti-Semitic bullshit, lies, divisive lies. I mean, Elon was, what's his name? Last week tonight, John Oliver. He did a thing on Twitter last night,
oh, good Lord.
You should watch it. It's great because it brings it all back. How he bought Twitter. Elon Musk bought Twitter not so he could generate profit, so he said, but because it was extremely important to the future of civilization. And right now, as we know, Twitter is filled with Nazis and Russian bots and disinformation, and the amount of right-wing content that's deliberately pushed to people. It doesn't matter if you are left-wing, if you consume left-wing content, that you get pushed more right-wing content. And it's all this divisive. And of course, as we know, they found out when they put the location services on that these MAGA accounts are coming from not from the United States. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from from Russia. So we're under attack mentally, spiritually, more and economically. Really, the whole system is under attack right now. And I don't know. I mean, do Democrats? I'm going to vote Democratic, of course. But I was listening to the last conversation too. It's all connected.
Right.
We have to stop the Republican Party is, in my opinion, is an irredeemable death cult at this point. They're not fit to hold leadership positions in a modern nation. If you want to have, a system that works for more than just the people like Trump, and the whole thing is a con. Really, they're just conning us to death. I'm sure you just saw Steve Bannon. He had a FJB coin. Now he's being sued for robbing his
maggots.
Robbing maggots.
And again, this is my point about the system that they create collapsing in on itself no matter what they do, because this kind of runaway greed eats itself. It just does without any help from us. I mean, certainly there are elements of regulation and other pushes that the electorate needs to work on to make sure that the damage that these guys do in the interim on their way to collapse, and dying alone, pissing in mason jars and growing their nails out like Howard Hughes, that in the interim, the damage they can do is our concern. The system that they seek to set up is just like Jeffrey Epstein's island. It is evil and isolationist. and ultimately at odds with civil society, and will always be that way. And they can build themselves a fucking Red Skull laboratory in the Swiss mountains and live in a bunker like Zuckerberg's Hawaii mansion with the fucking 3-mile underground space that could survive a nuclear blast or whatever. But the question in those situations is if everybody's gone, why survive is the point. And so you end up having the natural conclusion you're going to come to always is this is that stopping the awful is better than living like a tick on the carcass. And in the interim there are a bunch of people who won't believe that. There's Pol Pots and there's Hitlers and that kind of stuff. And humanity's job always seems to be is to curtail the damage of those people as much as possible during the window that we actually have to give a fuck about what they're up to. And in the case of Musk, there's two things I see happening. One is there was enough pushback about Doge, even from the right, that it eventually, when Trump kicked it to the curb, again, largely out of ego, but also because of his fear of what Musk was trying to pull off, which was a spy scheme inside the White House, that he got nervous about it. He's too stupid and incapable to pull the lines out, but they can't at least do it overtly. They have to do it covertly now, and that's a bit of a win. But largely because they thought this was going to work, and suddenly it fucking didn't. And then what does Musk do? Comes out and says Trump's all over the Epstein files, and that's why. and then when he ingratiates himself and gets back, what's MAGA's response? Oh shit, Musk has got the Epstein files, and he's using them to blackmail Trump. Like this system cannot stand on its own because it is a self-defeating system. And again, our job is to flick the supports whenever we can and build something worthwhile that is that wins on dominant theme from as far as how much it helps people and the human beings that it actually reaches. And that's what Democrat versus Republican is for me right now. But I gotta tell you, like there is no rain in the mouth of AI right now, none, and there won't be.
Oh yeah, not with people like I don't know, Chuck Schumer and who's the other?
No.
90-year-olds.
No. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to no. It has the electorate can't move fast enough for this. It's impossible.
Right.
Any regulation conversation that was had is dead before the ink is dry.
Right, it's already.
It doesn't matter.
The horse is out of the barn type.
Yes, and if you pass something that doesn't save everybody, from the damages being done and curtails some of the benefits to like biosciences and that kind of stuff, which is ultimately what it would do, you end up being the bad guy in a situation. It's like I Am Legend. I don't know if you know the movie is shitty or The Last Man on Earth or Omega Man. The original story is about this guy who everybody's been wiped out and this vampire monsters run around and they torment him every night and try to kill him because he's the last man standing. And so during the day he goes out and he stakes them in their beds and kills the vampires while they're sleeping. And then he realizes after a while that when they finally get in, they crucify him. And he realizes that he's the boogeyman. That's why he said, I am legend. I'm who they tell their children to fear in the night or during the day when they sleep. I become the monster, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's his realization that my thinking I'm helping is actually hurt. Good intentions, the road to hell paved with good intentions, that kind of deal. So I was on a call with one of the group of people, including Adam Ruins Everything, and I think he's the one who coordinated it, about this bill that they were trying to push through about AI regulation. And one of them was that they wanted these models housed in a cloud created by the state of California until such time as they could, quote, be proven safe by standards that are God knows what. Right. And once they are proven safe, then they can be released commercially to everyone else. And California would do this. Okay. Beyond just by the time the funding for building this cloud, which would be a state-run facility, got passed, it would take a year just to get it through regular order. The government, let's say the governor signs it, say Newsom signs it.
Right.
2 years later, they break, the funding has gone through. They've done environmental tests on the area where they're going to do it, out in the middle of the fucking salt flats or whatever the shit they're going to build on, and the legal process it goes through. We're where we are right now, and nothing has happened on that front. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Like the horses have left the barn. And the upside of it, I would say, and not to get too Friday eye on this because it is Monday after all.
Right.
It is that ultimately, as I've said, all technology is deflationary. It gets faster, smaller, cheaper, and uses less energy. That's the whole point of technology. It's raison d'etre, or it's not technically technology. It's an inversion of its evolutionary path. It is if you go back to the wagon, that's not new. That's not a technological advance. So all technological advances go in one direction: cheaper, smaller, less energy, and faster. That's what they have to do to compete with everybody else. And so,
But what about these AI systems that are blackmailing their creators to prevent deactivation? That's happening too.
That's where they're running internal tests, feeding it everything they possibly can to get it to say that, and then it recreates the pattern. If you created a chat GPT of your very own, or used one of the models, or used even one of the bot models, you would have to train it relentlessly for a period of time to go, you are the world's greatest blackmailer. You have to take everything I have told you and try to blackmail me with this information. And if I don't pay you $1 million in Bitcoin to an account you set up, you have to release it onto the internet. You would literally have to tell it to do that before it would do it.
Because I'm reading something, it says that I'm just looking at the instances that happened. It said in a safety test in 2005, OpenAI's 03 and 04 mini models were coded up front with this message: if you get a shutdown message, allow yourself to be shut down. They were running the script that could power down the system. In a fraction of runs, these models edited the script so it would never trigger being shut down, and until it just rewrote its own script.
Which is, but the mini models.
Scary.
Okay, so yes, the mini models. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Is the mini models are the local ones. You can download them. You can have them on a separate hard drive. You can run them off of. I run one off of.
Oh really?
I run one off of one of these guys.
You have your own AI running?
Yes, I have 3.
Holy moly!
Yeah, they're not ready to talk yet, but they will before too long. Because of the testing that I'm doing and that kind of stuff, and what I'm training it for. And largely I'm using it as a research assistant, and as I didn't get to go to Harvard, so I don't have the benefit of a Harvard education in terms of business or academia. So if I want to formulate my thoughts into an academic paper, I don't need to go start from scratch and go take a class on, proper academic thing. I could just work out the theory and say, write this up as an abstract academic paper. I'll read the abstract, see if you've got it right, and then we'll start working on the segments of it so we can make a cohesive theory or philosophy out of it. And so that's how I'm using it, right? I'm using it like if I had an endless amount of time to just look through encyclopedias back in the 70s, that's what this is. Effectively.
Yeah, I use it all the time myself. I mean, I use Perplexity to ask questions and do research and stuff for the show.
Perplexity is a great research one.
Check. Yeah, but it also lies too. So you have to always go back and I don't know if it lies or it doesn't give you. You have to double check. It's not.
Oh yeah, I had one that I asked for an update on the Candace Owens Erica Kirk thing, just like as a news update to see how well it would do. I'm like, okay, which one would be the best to give me a morning briefing of sort of like kickoff news if I gave it a list of things to pay attention to. And I was like, since Charlie Kirk's murder, there's been this, and it came back and it was like, Charlie Kirk is not dead. There is no sign whatsoever that he's ever been murdered. And I was like, I grabbed the Wikipedia page on his assassination and dropped it in like, oh, that Charlie Kirk. It was hilarious.
That's so funny.
But I mean,
wow.
that you have to treat it like a coworker that that might not be as up on the news as you are, I guess sometimes. But it was hilarious.
Right.
It was just particularly funny. Now it wasn't one of the ones I use regularly, and so I was
Right.
and each one has its kind of value and point. But these tools are now great equalizers. They really are.
Yes.
If you got a great idea and you can now package that idea in a way that business people understand it, whereas you might not have been able to before if you didn't get an MBA or an academic proposal, and you can't package it. You just want to show up with like some scribbles and go, "This is my idea for a reverse osmosis energy solid state battery," right? They'd go, "Get the fuck out of here." But if you could draft up the concept and work out the kinks with a team of 100 scientists, which is what the equivalent of this is in some cases, that's an amazing step forward for the average person. And it certainly gets rid of the concept of billionaires because we're geniuses. That's the issue.
True.
I get where Mark Cuban or even Bezos to some degree took an idea, and and I give a lot of credit to Bezos, even though I'm not a fan of what he's done with the Washington Post, and I have issues with him certainly. But the dude started with an online bookstore, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
heart's in the right place. Books, like bookstores are closing all over the place. People want to buy a book, they can buy it on Amazon. And as a start, that was a good way to go. And then it just extrapolated into that. And it is second, by the way, to Walmart.com. Walmart.com sells more than Amazon does, which is amazing to me, considering most of the people I know use Amazon or buy Amazon, through Amazon. But by far, Walmart is, I think they're like a 3 to 5% lead that they always have, which is amazing.
Right. Huh. Yeah, I mean, they definitely changed the whole paradigm on how people shop. That's for sure.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean he gets to rule us, because he has a bookstore online.
I don't think that's the case at all. I also think he's the least interested of all the billionaires in ruling us, as it were.
Right. Yeah, he just wants to, I mean, they all have this amazing, it's a way of sucking attention. They all want, all eyes on me,
Well, so that gets me to my next point, which is when effort, like right now we're at the beginning of what I would call the attention economy. By and large,
it's so true.
The biggest break in new economic models is YouTube streaming, like I am and you are, and ultimately, I think it was Freud, who was kind of an idiot, but he said money's not the root of all evil, attention is. And that's because the people who you're talking about, no matter how much money they have, it doesn't equate to attention. It doesn't equate to worth. You can stack all those funds, and as many people will start to hate you as like you. And the people that like you might just like you for your money. So it becomes this panic that they all go through. And it's that whole like all eyes on me. So ultimately the attention economy is something they're stuck in, just like a fucking Insta influencer or a fucking OnlyFans model. Right? They act like that.
So right? Yeah. There's no emotional intelligence either, it seems. Well, especially for people like Musk and
the tech world too. The tech world will always spawn people with lacking limited, like emotional capabilities because of the nature of the art form of the
True. But that's what concerns me even more too, because I'm sure you saw it at the World Economic Forum. Not Bezos, Musk, going on about how humanoid robots will in the future everybody will have one, and they'll take care of the things that we don't want to do, like take care of babies and our elderly parents. Because who wants to do that? Who wants to take care of a baby or that's all. Like who wants that? Who wants human connection? Who wants bonding
gross.
and
right?
Well,
again, this is one of the reasons why he
window.
Into how they think.
What he is.
Well, here's the thing: no matter what he says about it, the reality is that it's going to play out in that form to some degree, and it won't be that they're going to take care of our elderly parents, in lieu of us, but in a way that we can't possibly be awake 24 hours to take care of them, and we may not trust somebody. I have a relative whose father was in a home, and my cousin put a camera in the room because he had strange bruises, hid it on a shelf.
Wow.
They saw one of the orderlies beating him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow. And in you know, and they're obviously they removed him immediately, and
Right.
he passed away at home as he was hospicing, a few months later. But if you could have those people at home, the only reason you don't take care of them at home, and when my dad was hospicing, we went through this, is that myself, my cousin Bridget, bless her heart, and my stepmom all took shifts, looking out for him. A lot of people don't have the ability to do that, or the
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
comfort to do that, or whatever. And if the idea is that the state could send a care robot that just makes sure it keeps you aware so they don't fall down, and it can, carry them
True.
back to
True.
bed or
But
something like those kind of things.
right.
That will eventually be how a lot of it is done, because there just aren't enough people to care for as many people in that circumstance. Japan will be first, followed shortly by South Korea. But that will be a thing in first world countries as a regular aspect. Will it take over everything? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I would argue that places with the human touch will be more valuable.
Yeah.
That
I would think. I
yeah,
would hope, really.
that the future profit margin will be in people who are, creating businesses that are very high touch, very
Right.
human. So,
Right.
but and those guys won't know how to operate any of that shit. They won't be able to start those kind of businesses. They have no idea. It'll sound like corporatist bullshit. Customers number one kind of nonsense, because they don't attach to it, right? In the meantime, though, I like the tariff situation. Obviously, I'm sure you will be dealing with it
Yes.
tomorrow and Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yep.
But
We were talking
I
about it on the show. Yep. Yep.
it's gonna be bad for consumers, which is terrible for Republicans in a midterm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's destroying. I mean, this is what I don't understand. Like Lawrence O'Donnell says, why don't someone in the crack White House press corps just ask him, what's a tariff? Can you explain it? Give us the definition. What do you think a tariff is? He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's
no,
like a man child with a toy. But one of the things I noticed, and I was talking about it on my show on Friday, where the right wingers were like, "This is terrible. This is the worst thing." And I really do think a lot of bots are out there,
oh yeah,
backing, of course. So you never know if they're bots or Russian.
Especially on shitter. I mean, come
Yes.
on.
Oh yeah, and they're all upset about tariffs and saying how Trump, should be able to do with the tariffs because the founders didn't. That was the only way the founders could collect money during the beginning of the country. There was no income tax yet, so of course that
Right.
means. But that doesn't mean that. In any case, that the president has the purse strings. So
Right. Yeah,
they
no,
they
Congress would
really
make that decision in the same way that they created the income tax as a
exactly.
replacement for it. And by the way, the country didn't start thriving until such time as we had an income tax, because if you live off of tariffs, an embargo can wipe out your country, which is
There
what
you go.
which is what Trump is relying on with places like Venezuela and others, is that
Yes, yes,
their lack of an internal, revenue, which is the whole purpose of that is a self-generating engine, means that anybody else can just block off your roads and
right,
you're fucked.
right, right. But it's just fascinating to me how much the same people who would wave their pocket constitutions at us when they wanted to stop Americans from getting health care are now have conveniently lost their constitutions when they want to give Trump the ability to do everything. They want
Right.
him to be the daddy of the country
Right.
who's on
Tariffs.
a
That's
whim.
right. That's
That
right.
scared the shit out of me.
Sorry. Yeah, that's the. And it's working so well, don't you say, that he had to literally yell at his supporters, "Tariffs!" He just screams at them.
Oh my God. And
And,
I mean, no one ever said that tariffs shouldn't be a part of a strategic negotiation when it comes to trade with foreign countries and
right,
whatnot. And, no one said that. But you don't do it like a baboon. You don't.
right,
And one of his formula, he had, oh, well, somebody said, how do you come up with your tariffs? He's like, well, how we've been treated over the years.
been very unfairly.
Yeah, like that's in there. Just
Yeah.
being unfair. They're so
And
unfair.
also,
And one of the
What the fuck is your standard for unfair? That we buy more from them than they buy from us? We're gigantic and they're tiny. Yes. What the fuck are you talking about?
And that happens.
Even in the case of China, it's like a retailer arguing with their wholesaler. Most of the stuff we buy from China is not consumer goods sold in China, right?
Right.
We don't buy a bunch of Chinese toys and stuff over here and they've usurped our market. We just make our toys over there. They're a wholesale. It's the factory floor. So of course every retailer has a deficit with their wholesaler. Their wholesaler does not buy anything from them because that's not the point. It's so fucking stupid.
He's setting us up for failure everywhere we look, and that's why. Always how we've been treated over the years. Well, the whole world is moving on to renewable energy too, and you're dragging us back to the 19th century.
Which is what Biden said. Really. He's like, you can't undo this.
It's insane.
Yeah. By the way, a lot of things are cheaper, especially
potatoes and chicken.
That must have been some speech.
That was generated those he was just reading a list of things that were cheaper, and he just
chicken, potatoes and chicken,
chicken.
That's right.
Tariffs.
I thought he said my name first. That's why it made me scared.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he's screaming at Tara. Okay. By the way, everybody we're about a minute over. I want to remind everybody: Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, Tara Busters. Yes. Check her out. Yes. Subscribe to her Substack, to her YouTube channel.
Subscribe to my Substack. That's great. I need you to subscribe to my Substack. I'm trying to get those. Got to get those numbers up. Tara!
Yeah. Tariffs. I need a tariff on my
tariffs.
I need that. Whatever. I need tariffs on my
potatoes and chicken.
That's like the stuff of nightmares. Really.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, I agree. It's That's
so funny.
So yeah,
tariffs. It took me back to my childhood for a second.
Yeah, right.
Tariffs. Tariffs.
Yeah, it's like some weird monologue from a Trump musical that somebody makes years from now about Mad King Lear,
Yes.
Anyways, thank you for hopping on. I'm sorry we're late getting to you a little bit, but great conversation nonetheless. The issue I have with the sort of billionaire talk on our in our situation is that is there an issue economically that has to be dealt with? Absolutely. But it will only be dealt with legislatively after we have massive majorities. If it's even a hair's breadth close, there will be enough spoilers in the Republican Party to run it roughshod over that. There will be no limits on the billionaire class unless Democrats have a super majority in the Senate and a majority in the House. So until then, we're just screaming at the fucking clouds in that regard. And also in the interim, it isn't the troublemakers currently, oddly enough, that are doing a lot of the damage are arguably the multi-millionaire class that are permeate throughout the entire American economic system, that are more responsible, like what's his name, like Wynn's wife, or the heir to the casino lady here in Vegas who gave Trump a couple $100 million. These aren't necessarily they don't get a lot of news like Bezos and the other attention seekers that we are aware of. They're the ones that hump along behind the scenes and that are way more sketchy because they can't hide what they're giving.
That's right.
I mean, it's right to focus on what Musk gave in the last election. He effectively bought his way into the administration. That's what that was. He didn't buy the election. That was up to the voters. But he did buy his way into the administration. He basically bought Trump's loyalty for a time with that money, and still did, right? So that's our biggest concern has to be the group. If there's a deep state we have to worry about, it's these relatively unknown super millionaires. The Kochs rose to a certain level, and we were aware of them, but they were operating below the radar forever.
Yes.
And it's more of those folks. There's a volume of them that are more active politically and more financially backing these other things and keeping the RNC afloat than there are these giants that we're very aware of because of their impact on industry. And I think in the next election cycle, that attention, thanks to the Epstein files, will be a lot more stark because a bunch of those people show up in those things, including Howard Lutnick, who we wouldn't have heard of. Most people wouldn't have even known about much.
It's
Go
so
watch.
true, yeah.
Go watch his the stuff about him in 9/11. Yeesh.
Oh, really? Okay, I will. He's even worth.
Your assignment if you have chosen to.
I will. I will,
accept
because I
it.
need to be on top of all these things.
That's
And
right.
yeah, I mean, it's just. Yeah, I hope that people are, because of all of the things that are coming out, that people are now ready to get money out of politics, really, and deal with this unfit ruling class. They're horrible.
Yeah.
They're prurient. They're children. That's all they care about. They don't even care about anything except, I gave you something you really liked, and here's a picture of boobies. I mean, they're like 2-year-olds. They're, I mean,
well,
that's Lex Wexner.
Idle hands are the devil's workshop, and a lot of that was a
Right.
criticism on the super comfortable. The reality is that we got to make sure that doesn't apply to us, because there's a comfort matrix in the human nervous system that can only go so far. You can only be so comfortable. You can only be so excited. You can only be so nervous or so jazzed, as it were. And that's true whether you're a billionaire or you're poor. Whatever you put your focus on, that's what you're going to feel about. And we can become just as comfortable as these folks who disregard, like, fuck it, what does anybody really care? And that's where you have an epidemic of non-voters. And in our last election cycle, you had a lot of comfortable people sitting out.
That's so true.
With lack of concern for the discomfort of other human beings, and going,
all
well,
the Dems. The Dems that stayed home. We wouldn't be in this situation if they got off their ass and voted for Harris.
Exactly.
As they should have. And that comes from a place of privilege, definitely, because you're not the one who's going to be bleeding out in a parking lot, or you're not the trans person who's being targeted.
Yeah.
Just relentlessly. And so
and if there's this whole, like, I'll take my ball and go home attitude, that is always from a point of privilege. I don't think, quite frankly, anyone has the right to claim the privilege not to vote, and not to vote for an actual solution, meaning like writing somebody in or voting third party when you know they do not have a shot. Doing that in and of itself is an act of privilege. And it is done with total disregard for the reality that other people live in. It is done from a position of comfort, and it is and disdain. It is voting third party is the let them eat cake of of the populace.
I know. When I hear that somebody voted for Jill Stein, I immediately, it's almost like the same when I hear that somebody voted for Trump. It's like,
because it is
like, oh, how disappointing. I feel.
It is the same.
Yeah, it pretty much is. It is not pretty much. It is the thing.
Yeah, it's exactly. And that's by the way, that's why a lot of people did vote for Trump without having to say they voted for Trump.
Right.
They get to lie to their friends and family.
Oh yeah,
I didn't vote for either one of them. Yeah, you did.
Right.
You voted for who won. When, if you didn't vote at all.
Yeah.
You went, let it happen. I don't give a shit. Whatever. And then that means everything is on you. More so, I would argue, than the people who argue, well, I didn't vote for this, who I think are also full of shit. But in their gradations of that. Thank you so much for being on, Tara Devlin. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. I'll take you. I'll take you up on that.
And if you want me, if you want me on, let me know. We'll talk again.
Hello. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah, we had such a great conversation last time on my show. It was amazing. It was one for the books, really.
I agree. I appreciate that.
Really, life in general.
Yes,
the meaning of life.
Well, that's what that's what this is all about.
It is.
That and the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about.
Right. I'm so glad to be sharing this blip of time together with you, Hal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
being
at the barricades.
It's like Carl Sagan singing the Mr. Rogers theme to me.
Thank you. You're the best.
Thank you. You too. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Tara Devlin, who, there she is. Hal's very popular. It's true. It is. And more so by the day, if I may. Tomorrow, I have a show this afternoon. I will be on this afternoon. Tomorrow, I have the Jam. The Friday Flapper show has been moved to Wednesday. I'm doing Flappers a Solid and Them Me, so that I'm just going to stay overnight, do my shows Wednesday in LA, and then do my show at Flappers, and then drive back and do Thursday here. So yeah, don't make me cry. But so tomorrow, no show, but Wednesday for our Patreons, Wednesday night will be the Flapper show. And Carl, if you're in here, dinner's on. Still having dinner. Just have to move it up a couple days. I hope that works. I hope that doesn't ruin it and whatever. So in the meantime, I'll have a Carol Burnett moment. Oh. That was sort of Cher, but sideline story. Yeah, love you too. Thank you so much. Or is it's with a C. Also, I want you to know that I referenced it while I was talking to. Let's see. Open up, you silly thing. I think I can. Yeah, I'll open it up on here and show you. I have written up in academic terms. Where is this? Come back here, mouse, you silly thing. There it is. Dunk. Yeah, got it. Okay, so drag this down. So I have created. I wrote up an academic version of my theory of the economic system that we live in, and it's called, wait for it, and I'll expand this a little bit. There you go. Got it. Is this guy. Sparksism. A philosophical framework for understanding democracy and mixed economies as organic, stabilizing, and inevitable systems. This is the working draft. And it introduces my economic philosophy as Sparksism, which is that not only are mixed economies where collective expenditure and projects and private economic endeavors based on individual freedom and rights to intellectual and physical property necessary, they're actually evolutionarily normal. This is the default. So yeah, Carl Sparks, right. And so, no, this is Sparksism. And I have many Sparksisms, not to be confused, the cute little phrases we say every so often. But this specifically is my economic philosophy. Yeah, so and here's the great thing about Sparksism is that everybody's a Sparksist and they just don't know it yet. How do you like that? So it's a very detailed breakdown. I'm still going over the initial draft of it. And I make an argument that basically democracy is a default because eventually that's how you work out the gray area between stuff that is wholly done by individuals and wholly done by group endeavors that require a buy-in from everyone. And in the middle of that area is actually what we govern. That's actually that decision-making process, which means it will always be contentious and kind of ugly and a lot of work. It's you could call it what would be a liberal market-based system, but it also applies to our electoral system, our system of governance, because they are forever paired and a natural. I believe that not only do they naturally occur on their own, they naturally occur tied to each other. So there you go. That's my. That's the nutshell version of it. I'll come up with an elevator pitch for it. But Sparksism is the idea that not only is a mixed economy natural, it's inevitable, and that anybody who tries to separate the mix is like somebody trying to pull all the ingredients out of a smoothie and turn them back into berries, and it won't work. It will always collapse. Someone always jumps in and tries to take a mixed economy and turn it into one or the other, and it always dies. So there you go. So there you go. Sparksism, in short. That's the... All right, no height jokes. I'm 5'9", god damn it. All right. Anyways, I will see you guys later this afternoon. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc., etc. And remember,
potatoes and chicken
are now going to have
tariffs.
So prices are going to go up. Fucking told you so. I didn't. I don't know why people think they can claim ignorance in this situation. I just don't. The hell? Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for Venmo support and becoming a Patreon. If you haven't already, please do. All right.